Greetings folks, welcome back to the channel, and a bit of an update for you from Business Division number 3 over at Square and the unannounced project which we know they've been working on for some time now, since at least 2016 I believe. Just in case you're unaware, the third business division over at Square are the team responsible for Final Fantasy XIV, Dragon Quest Builders, amongst a couple of other games as well. In particular, Naoki Yoshida, who is more commonly known by his nickname Yoshi-P I believe, is the guy that's pretty much responsible for saving Final Fantasy XIV after its initial disastrous launch. They brought this dude on board, Yoshi-P, and as you know, Final Fantasy XIV is now a very popular game for Square Enix, one that they are putting a lot of time and resources into. Anyhow, Yoshida himself once said that if Final Fantasy XVI were to ever happen, he would love to see it take the franchise back to its fantasy roots, and in particular with perhaps a medieval fantasy style. It's interesting then that on the official Japanese Square Enix website, I'm using Google Translate here, on Business Division 3's page, as part of their recruitment drive, talking about their new project, they have now shared this concept artwork for it. And it definitely has that kind of medieval fantasy vibe to it. Now, we don't know much about the project officially, other than it's being seen as a follow-up to Final Fantasy XIV. I don't think it's going to be an MMO. We've spoken about that before. Square are not going to want to compete with themselves on that. We've seen that with World of Warcraft. Lots of people over the years asking when we're going to get a sequel to WoW, now that the game is looking kind of old, but Blizzard were very reluctant to do so. Yes, we did kind of get a sequel to Final Fantasy XI with 14, but I don't think that Square are going to do that again, at least not anytime soon. So if this is going to be a follow-up to Final Fantasy XIV, it's being developed by the same team as Final Fantasy XIV. It's got that kind of fantasy medieval style to it, the same style that Yoshi-P suggested he would like to see in a future Final Fantasy XVI. And we don't think the follow-up's going to be another MMO. Then what are we left to conclude? But this is artwork that the unannounced project is indeed Final Fantasy XVI itself. Now, here's the thing. We've got the Final Fantasy VII Remake coming out next year, and Square themselves have said we need to see that, we need to understand that as the next main numbered entry in the Final Fantasy franchise, and they're not going to want to detract from the Final Fantasy VII Remake, I assure you. So, whatever this unannounced project is, if it is Final Fantasy XVI, or probably if it's anything else as well, we're not going to be hearing anything official from it as to what it is until after the Final Fantasy VII Remake is released next year, because Square are not going to want to draw the focus away from that. Now, of course, at the moment, this is still speculation. It's for fun. Don't treat this as anything other than fun, folks. But that said, I do actually think there's a very strong chance that this concept art is for Final Fantasy XVI, as of yet unannounced. I could be wrong on that. Time will tell. One other thing to mention as well is that there is another game that Square are going to be publishing that was announced last year, I think it was, called Babylon's Fall. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, check it out. It looks really interesting. A few people have mentioned that maybe this is concept art from that game because we don't know a whole lot else about that game, but I don't think it is, and that's because Babylon's Fall is being developed by a non-Square team called Platinum Games, whereas this is concept art relating to the unannounced project for Business Division 3, which is an in-house development team. So I do not believe this is Platinum Games' Babylon Falls. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, folks, what do you think about this? What do you think of the concept art, first of all? Regardless of what the game is, what do you think about the style of the art direction that whatever game this is going to be taking on? Because I think it looks really, really cool. You know, there's a lot of popularity at the moment with this kind of style because we've got Game of Thrones, we've got The Witcher, and it just makes sense that Square would want to tap a toe into that kind of popularity, into that genre right now, that medieval fantasy genre. So it wouldn't surprise me by any stretch of the imagination if their next Final Fantasy game would, you know, be the lead for that. Alright then, folks, well, share your thoughts down in the comments below, and if there's any potential news or anything that comes out of this, I'll make sure to share it with you. Take care.